On June 13, 1944, an American paratrooper company holds 4 stone buildings at a 5-road intersection 2 kilometers outside Carentan, France. At 5:47 in the morning, they count 37 Wehrmacht infantry moving through hedgerows 400 meters south. At 6:03 in the morning, they count 11 half-tracks. At 6:09 in the morning, they stop counting. June 10, 1944, 11:15 at night, Carentan, France. The 101st Airborne Division enters the southern edge of Carentan. Screaming eagles are stenciled on their helmet liners. Their wool uniforms are salt-stained from 4 days of continuous combat. The town has a peacetime population of 4,200. The German garrison consists of elements from the 6th Fallschirmjäger Regiment. These are not ordinary Wehrmacht conscripts. These are elite paratroopers, veterans, and they are dug in deep. The mission parameters are brutally simple. Take Carentan, hold Carentan, link Utah Beach to Omaha Beach. The distance between the 2 landing zones is 16 kilometers. Carentan sits directly in the center. If the Americans lose this town, the beachhead splits in half. If they hold it, men and supplies can flow freely between the beaches. Eisenhower's entire timeline for the breakout from Normandy depends on this single French market town. The 101st Airborne has 6,928 men in contact. They jumped from C-47 transport aircraft 6 days ago in darkness and chaos. Their casualty rate since D-Day stands at 22%. Ammunition status is at 60% of nominal load. They have 2 days of food remaining. Average sleep per man since June 6th is 4 hours total. Carentan is burning. Smoke columns rise 200 feet into the night sky. Visibility in some streets is 80 meters. In others, it is 0. The Germans have wired demolition charges on every bridge crossing the canals that run through the town. They have deliberately flooded the marshlands to the east and west by opening lock gates on the Douve and Murderate rivers. The only dry approaches into Carentan are 3 narrow causeways and 1 paved road, the N13 highway coming from the north. The Americans come down the N13. They have no tanks. Armor cannot cross the flooded marshland. They have no preparatory artillery bombardment. The town contains French civilians and their property. Rules of engagement are strict. Suppress only identified enemy positions. The 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment enters from the northwest. The 506th enters from the northeast. It is a converging attack. They move building to building, room to room, staircase to staircase. By June 11th at 6:30 in the evening, the town center is in American hands. By June 12th at dawn, the Germans withdraw south. The 101st counts 250 German bodies in the streets. They capture 300 prisoners. American casualties for the urban fighting phase are 340 wounded and 71 dead. The division commander, Major General Maxwell Taylor, calls the operation complete. It is not complete. June 12, 1944, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Cole receives new orders. Cole commands the 3rd Battalion, 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment. His orders are to push the German line south of Carentan. His objective is to establish a defensive perimeter 2.5 kilometers beyond the town, along the N13 highway, and deny the enemy observation of Carentan itself. Robert Cole is 29 years old. He graduated from West Point in 1939. He stands 5'9" and weighs 160 pounds. He carries an M1 Garand rifle with the serial number 3,285,107. He does not carry a sidearm. He wears standard jump boots and an M2 steel helmet with camouflage netting draped over it. He wears no visible rank insignia. German snipers prioritize officers, and removing insignia increases your odds of survival. His battalion is listed on paper as 700 men. Present for duty at this moment are 265. The rest are scattered across multiple drop zones, killed in action, wounded, missing, attached to other units for various missions or guarding German prisoners. He has 4 rifle companies: Abel, Baker, Charlie, and Dog. Each company should field 140 men according to the table of organization. Current average strength per company is 66 men. His heavy weapons platoon has 3 M1919A4 30 caliber machine guns. Rate of fire is 400 to 550 rounds per minute. Effective range is 1,100 meters. Total ammunition on hand is 9,000 rounds. His mortar section has 2 M2 60mm mortars. Maximum range is 1,985 meters. They have 87 high-explosive rounds available. Cole has no artillery support. The 101st Pack howitzers are still being reassembled after the parachute drop scattered them across the Norman countryside. He has no tank support. The nearest Sherman tanks are 8 kilometers north at Omaha Beach and cannot traverse the marshes. He has no air support. The weather forecast calls for low overcast clouds at a 400-foot ceiling with visibility down to 2 miles. The 8th Air Force is grounded. Cole's communication equipment consists of 2 SCR-300 backpack radio sets. Range is 3 miles under ideal line-of-sight conditions. Battery charge remaining is 40%. At 2:17 in the afternoon, Cole assembles his company commanders inside a farmhouse, 150 meters south of Carentan's last standing structure. A burned-out bakery with walls still intact. He spreads a 1:25,000 scale map across a wooden table. The map is British, printed on June 3rd. Intelligence annotations have been added in pencil. Red marks indicate known German positions as of 8 o'clock this morning. The terrain south of Carentan is called bocage, hedgerow country. Each field is between 60 and 120 meters per side. Every field is bordered by earthen berms standing 4 to 5 feet high. These berms are topped with dense hedges of hawthorn, bramble, and ancient oak roots. The berms are centuries old. Their root systems go down 8 feet into the Norman soil. They are completely impenetrable to infantry without explosives. Sight lines between fields are 0. The N13 highway runs straight south out of Carentan. It is paved and has 2 lanes. Drainage ditches run along both sides, each about 1 meter deep. Hedgerows flank the ditches on both sides. Every 200 meters, a farm track intersects the highway at right angles, leading east or west into more hedgerows and more fields. Cole's objective is a position marked on the map as Hill 30. It is not actually a hill. It is a slight elevation, 4 meters higher than the surrounding ground. It sits 2.4 kilometers south of Carentan on the east side of the N13 highway. On the map it carries the designation code 30. From Hill 30, German forward observers have direct line of sight into every street in Carentan. They can call artillery fire onto American positions with pinpoint accuracy. Cole's mission is straightforward: take Hill 30, dig in, hold it. He asks his S2 intelligence officer, Lieutenant Sutliff, what lies between their current position and Hill 30. Sutliff's answer is brief: unknown. The last reconnaissance patrol went out at 10 o'clock this morning. They radioed back light contact at 1,200 meters distance. Radio contact was lost at 10:34 in the morning. The patrol has not returned. Cole asks how many Germans they should expect. Sutliff's answer is an estimate: 6th Fallschirmjäger rear guard. Estimated strength is company-sized, somewhere between 80 and 120 men. Their orders, based on captured documents from the fighting in town, are to delay American advances but not to defend fixed positions to the death. They should withdraw under sustained pressure. Cole studies the map. He does not like what he sees. The N-13 is a perfect kill corridor. It is straight, open, with no cover. Flanking routes require moving through the hedgerows, which is slow, disorienting, and makes units vulnerable to close-range ambush. He makes his decision: a straight push down the highway. Speed over stealth. Shock action over methodical suppression. Get a hill 30 before the Germans can reinforce it. At 2:35 in the afternoon, he issues his orders. Able Company leads the advance. Baker Company follows at a distance of 100 meters. Charlie and Dog Companies remain in reserve. The machine gun section stays with Baker Company. The mortar section stays with Dog Company. Move fast. Do not stop to clear every hedgerow. If you take fire, suppress it and keep advancing. The men fix bayonets to their rifles. At 2:48 in the afternoon, Able Company crosses the line of departure and begins moving south. The weather is hot, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity is 85%. There is no wind. The men are soaked through their wool uniforms within 400 meters of marching. Able Company moves in a column of twos along the right side of the N-13 highway. 33 men total. The lead squad is 1st Squad, 1st Platoon. It consists of 9 riflemen, 1 Browning automatic rifle gunner, 1 assistant bar gunner, and 1 squad leader, Staff Sergeant Harrison Summers. Harrison Summers is 24 years old. He is pre-war regular Army. He enlisted in 1940. He is a graduate of jump school at Fort Benning, Class 37. He carries an M1 Garand rifle with 8-round N-block clips stored in canvas pouches on his belt. He has 6 clips, 48 rounds total. He also carries 2 Mark II fragmentation grenades. Each grenade weighs 21 ounces. Lethal bursting radius is 10 meters. Casualty radius is 30 meters. The point man for the advance is Private First Class Virgil Tanton. He walks 10 meters ahead of the main squad. His job is simple and vital. He scans left, right, and forward continuously. He watches the drainage ditches. He watches the gaps in the hedgerows. He watches the road surface for mines, tripwires, or disturbances in the dirt that indicate buried explosives. At 3:02 in the afternoon, 600 meters south of Carentan, Tanton sees a German helmet in the hedgerow 40 meters ahead on the left side of the road. He raises his left fist. The signal is universal. The column stops instantly. Summers moves forward in a low crouch. He kneels in the drainage ditch. He raises his binoculars. They are U.S. M3 binoculars with 6-power magnification. He glasses the hedgerow carefully. He counts 4 helmets visible above the vegetation. There is no movement. No weapons are visible. He signals the bar team forward. The bar is the M1918A2 Browning automatic rifle. It weighs 19.4 pounds when fully loaded. Magazine capacity is 20 rounds of .30-06 Springfield ammunition. Effective range is 600 meters. Rate of fire is selectable between 300 and 650 rounds per minute. The bar gunner, Private Dukeman, sets up in a prone position in the drainage ditch. His assistant gunner feeds the magazine into the weapon and acts as spotter. Summers waits 30 seconds. The helmets still do not move. At 3:04 in the afternoon, he orders Dukeman to fire a short burst, 5 rounds, suppressive fire, aimed high. Dukeman fires. The sound is sharp and mechanical. Brass casings eject in a spray. The 4 helmets disappear instantly behind the hedgerow. Summers moves his squad forward at a run, 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters. They reach the gap in the hedgerow and sweep through with rifles raised. The helmets were decoys. They had been placed on wooden sticks pushed into the ground. There are no Germans present. Summers curses under his breath. He signals all clear to the column behind him. The advance resumes. At 3:11 in the afternoon, 900 meters south of Carentan, the lead squad takes fire. Two rifles, the distinctive crack of German Mauser Kar 98K bolt-action rifles. Caliber is 7.92 by 57 mm. Effective range is 500 meters. Rate of fire for a trained shooter is 15 aimed rounds per minute. The rounds crack past Summers' head. They are supersonic. They are close. The entire squad hits the dirt. Summers identifies the muzzle flash location. Hedgerow on the right side of the road, 80 meters forward. He orders immediate return fire. 8 riflemen open fire. 40 rounds are sent downrange in 6 seconds. The hedgerow is shredded. Leaves and branches fall like rain. The German fire stops. Summers does not wait to see if they are dead. He signals advance. The squad moves forward at a tactical crouch, using the drainage ditch for partial cover. They reach the German position. 2 Germans, both dead. Both wear Fallschirmjäger insignia. One wears a splinter-pattern camouflage smock. The other wears a field gray tunic with Luftwaffe eagle patches. Both have Kar 98K rifles lying beside them. One has a wool blanket rolled and tied to his back. The other has a gas mask canister and an entrenching tool strapped to his belt. Summers checks their ammunition pouches. They are completely empty. These 2 soldiers had fired their last rounds at the Americans before dying. He signals all clear. The column resumes the advance. At 3:19 in the afternoon, 1,200 meters south of Carentan, the column reaches a farm intersection. The N13 continues south in a straight line. A dirt farm track runs east into the hedgerows. A stone farmhouse sits 60 meters east of the highway. It is partially collapsed. The roof is missing. The walls remain intact. Able Company's commander, Captain Simmons, calls a halt. He orders 1st Platoon to clear the farmhouse before continuing. 2nd and 3rd Platoons remain in position on the highway providing security. Summers takes his squad east along the farm track. They move in a tactical column with 5-meter intervals between men. Every man has his head on a swivel. The farmhouse is silent. At 3:22 in the afternoon, Summers reaches the front door. It is hanging open on broken hinges. He pulls a Mark II fragmentation grenade from his belt. He pulls the pin. He releases the safety spoon. He counts 2 seconds aloud. He throws the grenade through the doorway. The grenade detonates inside. Blast and dust billow out through the door and windows. Summers enters immediately with his rifle raised. The interior is empty. Furniture has been overturned. German ration tins are scattered on the floor. Wehrmacht issue meat and vegetables. 5 empty tins. Someone ate here within the last few hours. Summers exits the farmhouse. He signals all clear with his arm. At 3:24 in the afternoon, Captain Simmons orders the advance to resume. At 3:31 in the afternoon, 1,600 meters south of Carentan, Private Tanton, the point man, stops moving. He sees something wrong. The N13 highway ahead is perfectly straight and flat. Visibility extends 400 meters. The hedgerows on both sides are uniform and dense. There is no movement anywhere. There is no sound. There are no birds singing. The silence is absolute. Tanton signals Summers forward with an urgent hand gesture. Summers moves up and kneels beside him. He raises his binoculars and glasses the road carefully. He sees nothing out of place, but he feels it. Something is wrong. At 3:33 in the afternoon, he orders the column to halt. He reports back to Captain Simmons with a simple statement. It's too quiet. Simmons moves forward to Summers' position. He looks down the road himself. He agrees immediately. He orders Able Company to deploy into the hedgerows on both sides of the highway. They will form a skirmish line and advance through the fields parallel to the road instead of walking down the exposed pavement. The maneuver takes 8 minutes. The hedgerows are incredibly thick. The men cut through using bayonets, trench knives, and brute force. They move 10 meters forward, hit another hedgerow, cut through again, and continue advancing. At 3:47 in the afternoon, 1,800 meters south of Carentan, the lead elements of Able Company reach the edge of a large open field. The field is 200 meters wide and 300 meters deep. It is covered in grass that has grown waist-high. There are no crops planted. There is no cover anywhere in the field. It is completely flat. On the far side of the field, 300 meters to the south, sits Hill 30. The objective. Summers raises his binoculars and examines the hill carefully. He sees a thick hedgerow running along the base of the hill. He sees a stone wall, partially collapsed, running east to west. He sees no Germans, no movement, no helmets, nothing. Captain Simmons moves up beside him. He glasses the hill through his own binoculars. He studies it for 30 seconds. Then he makes a decision. At 3:51 in the afternoon, he orders Able Company to cross the open field and take Hill 30. Speed and aggression. An all-out charge. First platoon will lead. Second platoon will follow at 50 meters. Third platoon will remain in reserve at the tree line. At 3:53 in the afternoon, Able Company steps out into the open field. They walk quickly. Rifles are at the ready. Spacing between men is 5 meters. At 50 meters into the field, nothing happens. At 100 meters into the field, nothing happens. At 150 meters into the field, nothing happens. At 3:56 in the afternoon, 200 meters into the field, the Germans open fire. The first sound is a machine gun. A German MG-42. Caliber 7.92 by 57 millimeter. Rate of fire is 1,200 rounds per minute. Effective range with a tripod mount is 1,000 meters. The sound it makes is not the familiar staccato burst of an American machine gun. It is a ripping noise, continuous, like someone tearing heavy cloth at a rate of 20 rounds per second. The gun is positioned in the hedgerow at the base of Hill 30 on the left side. It opens fire from a range of 280 meters. The bullets arrive before the sound does. 3 men in first platoon go down in the first 2 seconds. 1 is killed instantly by a headshot. 2 are wounded in the legs and torso. The Americans hit the ground immediately. They go prone in the tall grass. The grass provides concealment, but it does not provide cover. The MG-42 traverses smoothly. The bursts walk across the field methodically. Rounds snap overhead at 2,700 feet per second. Summers rolls his body into a shallow depression in the ground. He raises his head just enough to see. He identifies the muzzle flash. Hedgerow at 11 o'clock, 280 meters away. He fires 1 round. The muzzle flash does not stop. More machine guns open fire, 4 total. Their positions are staggered. Left hedgerow, center hedgerow, right hedgerow, and firing from behind the stone wall. The fields of fire interlock perfectly. The entire field is covered. There is nowhere to move. Rifle fire joins the machine gun fire. It is disciplined and controlled. Single shots. Mauser Kar 98K bolt-action rifles and Juyer 43 semi-automatic rifles. The Germans are not firing randomly for suppression. They are aiming at individual targets. 2 more Americans go down, 1 wounded, 1 dead. Captain Simmons is 120 meters behind first platoon. He keys his SCR 300 backpack radio. He calls Lieutenant Colonel Cole, who is 600 meters north with Baker Company. Simmons reports clearly, "We are pinned down. Heavy machine gun fire from multiple positions. Hill 30 is heavily fortified. I estimate platoon strength enemy at minimum. Requesting immediate support." Cole acknowledges the transmission. He orders Baker Company to advance at double time. He orders the machine gun section to set up and deliver suppressive fire on Hill 30. He orders the mortar section to prepare fire missions. The time is 3:58 in the afternoon. In the middle of the open field, Able Company cannot move forward. They cannot move backward because the MG-42s have the entire 200 meters covered. They cannot stay in place because the German rifle fire is precise, aimed, and killing men steadily. Staff Sergeant Summers makes a tactical decision. He shouts to his squad over the sound of gunfire. Crawl forward, use the grass for concealment, get to the hedgerow at the base of the hill, we'll assault from there. The men begin to crawl. They use their elbows and knees. They cradle their rifles across their forearms. They move slowly, inches per second. The grass provides concealment if they stay completely flat. The Germans fire at any movement they detect. If you stop moving, you live. If you move, you draw fire. Private Tanton crawls 10 meters forward. He stops. He breathes. He waits. He crawls another 10 meters. A sustained burst rips through the grass 2 feet to his right. He freezes completely. He counts to 30. Then he begins crawling again. It takes Summers and his squad 9 full minutes to crawl 80 meters. At 4:07 in the afternoon, they finally reach the hedgerow at the base of Hill 30. This is the same hedgerow the Germans are firing from. The hedgerow stands 5 feet high. The earthen berm beneath it is 4 feet thick. The Germans are positioned on top of the berm, firing over the hedge into the field. The Americans are now at the base of the berm, directly below them. The Germans above cannot see the Americans below. Summers signals his squad with hand gestures. He points left. They begin crawling laterally along the base of the hedgerow. The Germans above them continue firing forward into the field. They have no idea the Americans are now 10 feet directly below their positions. At 4:09 in the afternoon, Summers reaches a gap in the hedgerow. It is a collapsed farm gate. He peers through carefully. On the other side, he sees a German machine gun position. An MG-42 mounted on a tripod. 3-man crew, gunner, assistant gunner, and ammunition bearer. They are all facing north, firing into the field. Their backs are completely exposed to Summers. Summers pulls a Mark II fragmentation grenade from his belt. He pulls the pin with his thumb. He releases the safety spoon. He counts 2 seconds aloud. He throws the grenade underhanded through the gap. The grenade lands 1 meter directly behind the machine gun crew. It detonates. All 3 Germans go down immediately. The MG-42 stops firing. Summers charges through the gap before the smoke clears. His squad follows him in a rush. They shoot the Germans on the ground as they pass. This is standard procedure. There is no time to check if wounded men are faking death or reaching for weapons. They scramble up the berm. They reach the top. They look down into a shallow trench line dug along the inside of the hedgerow. 6 Germans are in the trench. They turn at the sound. They begin raising their rifles. Summers fires his entire 8-round clip as fast as he can pull the trigger. He drops 2 men. His squad fires simultaneously. 10 rifles firing, 80 rounds in 5 seconds. All 6 Germans in the trench go down. Out in the field, Able Company's 2nd platoon sees the firing stop on the left side of Hill 30. They immediately charge. They run across the remaining 100 meters at full sprint. No fire comes at them from the left. They reach the hedgerow. They climb the berm. They pour into the captured German position. The left side of the German defensive line is overrun. The time is 4:11 in the afternoon, but the center and right machine gun positions are still firing. Able Company has broken 1 corner of the kill zone. They have not taken the hill. At 4:13 in the afternoon, Lieutenant Colonel Cole arrives on scene with Baker Company. He rapidly assesses the situation. Able Company has seized the left flank but is pinned there. The center and right German machine guns are still active and delivering heavy fire. German riflemen are also firing from the stone wall and from foxholes and trenches dug into the slope of Hill 30 itself. Cole orders his machine gun section to deploy immediately. The three M1919A4 30 caliber machine guns set up 300 meters north of the field behind the cover of a hedgerow. They open fire with long, sustained bursts. They are using 100-round belts. They target the center and right German positions with suppressive fire. The volume of German fire slackens noticeably. The MG-42 crews are forced to take cover. At 4:16 in the afternoon, Cole orders a general assault. Able Company will attack from the left flank. Baker Company will charge straight across the field. Overwhelming speed and violence of action. No stopping for anything. Baker Company consists of 66 men. They step out into the open field in a line. They walk fast. Then they begin jogging. Then they break into a full run. The German machine guns open fire again despite the American suppressive fire. The MG-42 rate of fire is simply too high. The American machine gun fire is not enough to keep them suppressed. Bullets fill the air like rain. 4 Americans go down in the first 50 meters. Lieutenant Colonel Cole is running with Baker Company. He is positioned in the second rank of the assault line. He sees men falling around him. He sees men beginning to slow their pace. He sees hesitation spreading through the line. At 4:18 in the afternoon, 120 meters into the field, Baker Company stops advancing. The men hit the ground and go prone. They will not move forward. The fire is simply too heavy, too accurate, too much. Robert Cole stands up. He is the only man standing in a field of prone soldiers. Rounds are snapping past him continuously. He does not take cover. He shouts at the top of his lungs. "Got him it, come on." No one moves. Cole pulls a smoke grenade from his belt. He throws it forward toward the German positions. Orange smoke begins billowing. Then he charges toward the smoke. Alone. He runs 10 meters forward, 15 meters, 20 meters. He fires his M1 Garand from the hip as he runs. He is not aiming. He is not trying to hit anything. He is simply moving forward and shooting. Behind him, one soldier stands up, then another. Then 10 more. Then the entire company. They charge. At 4:19 in the afternoon, Baker Company crosses the remaining 180 meters under continuous fire. The men are screaming as they run. They do not shoot accurately because they are running at full speed. They fire for noise, for suppression, for psychological effect. They reach the hedgerow at the base of Hill 30. They climb over the Germans. They throw grenades down into fighting positions. They fire their rifles point-blank into stunned defenders. The German center position collapses completely. 12 Germans are killed in close combat. 4 others throw their weapons down and surrender. The right machine gun position retreats. The crew grabs their MG-42, lifts it off the tripod, and falls back over the crest of Hill 30, moving south at a run. At 4:22 in the afternoon, Able Company and Baker Company hold the base of Hill 30 and are advancing up the slope. American casualties for the assault: 14 dead, 29 wounded. Cole immediately orders consolidation. Dig in. Establish defensive positions. Prepare for counterattack. Because in Normandy in 1944, the Germans always counterattack. At 4:30 in the afternoon, the Americans conduct an ammunition count. Able Company. Riflemen average 24 rounds remaining per man. Baker Company. Riflemen average 31 rounds remaining per man. Machine guns. 4,200 rounds remaining total. Mortars. 74 rounds remaining. Grenades. 83 total across all units. They also count their effective strength. Able Company, 19 men able to fight. Baker Company, 52 men able to fight. Charlie Company has just arrived from the north. 61 men able to fight. Dog Company has 58 men able to fight, but they are being held in reserve 400 meters north. Total American strength physically on Hill 30, 132 combat-effective soldiers. The men begin digging immediately. The soil is soft from recent rain. They use entrenching tools, steel helmets, bayonets, rifle butts, and bare hands. They dig standard two-man foxholes along the crest of Hill 30 and along the captured hedgerow at the base. Spacing is 10 meters apart. Minimum depth is 3 feet. The captured German machine guns are repositioned. The Americans set them up with overlapping fields of fire covering all southern approaches to the hill. At 5:05 in the afternoon, German artillery begins falling. The first rounds are 105 mm high-explosive shells. They land 200 meters south of Hill 30. These are ranging shots. The explosions produce orange fireballs and columns of black smoke. Blast radius is 30 meters. Shrapnel effective radius is 100 meters. The second salvo lands 150 meters south, closer. The third salvo lands directly on Hill 30. The shells are fused for airburst. They detonate 20 feet above the ground. Shrapnel rains straight down into the foxholes. The Americans press themselves into the bottom of their holes and cover their heads with their arms. The barrage lasts 11 minutes. 73 rounds total are counted by survivors. 3 Americans are killed. 14 are wounded. At 5:16 in the afternoon, the artillery fire stops. At 5:18 in the afternoon, the Germans attack. They come from the south across open farm fields. They advance in formation. Lieutenant Colonel Cole raises his binoculars and begins counting. First wave, 120 infantry in a skirmish line. Spacing between men is 5 meters. They are advancing at a steady walk with rifles at the ready. Behind the first wave, 6 SD, KFZ. 251 half-tracked armored personnel carriers. Each vehicle is carrying 10 panzer grenadiers. That adds 60 more men to the assault. The half-tracks are open-topped. Front armor is 12 millimeters thick. Side armor is 8 millimeters. Each vehicle mounts one MG-42 machine gun on a pintle mount. Behind the half-tracks, 3 SD, KFZ. 250 light reconnaissance half-tracks. Each has a crew of 2 and is armed with 1 machine gun. Cole stops counting German infantry at 200 men visible. Then he sees the tanks. 3 tanks emerge from a tree line 800 meters south. They are Sturmgeschütz III assault guns. Not true tanks but turretless armored fighting vehicles. The gun is fixed in the hull. Front armor is 80 millimeters thick. The main gun is a 75 millimeter cannon with a muzzle velocity of 2,500 feet per second. Effective range against infantry, 2,000 meters. Against armor, 1,000 meters. The Americans on Hill 30 have nothing that can stop a tank. They have rifles. They have machine guns. They have 60 millimeter mortars. None of these weapons can penetrate armor. Cole keys his radio. He calls regiment. He requests immediate tank support, immediate artillery support, immediate air support. Regiment responds. Tanks cannot reach him. They are still stuck north of the marshes. Artillery is available but will take 15 minutes to register fire missions. Air support is unavailable. Weather is still below minimums. Cole acknowledges. He closes the radio. He turns to his men and shouts orders. Concentrate fire on the infantry. Ignore the assault guns unless they get close. Prepare to withdraw on order if they breach the position. At 5:21 in the afternoon, the German infantry reaches a range of 400 meters. The American machine guns open fire. 3 M1919A4s and 2 captured MG-42s. Sustained bursts. The sound is continuous. Brass casings pile up in the foxholes. Germans start going down. 5 men, 10 men, 15. They do not stop advancing. They do not take cover. They keep walking forward and firing from the hip. At 350 meters, the American riflemen join in, 130 rifles firing as fast as men can aim and pull triggers. The volume of fire is enormous. The German line staggers. Gaps appear. Men fall and do not get up, but the line does not break. The survivors keep advancing. The three Sturmgeschütz assault guns fire their 75mm cannons, high-explosive rounds. They airburst over American positions. The concussion alone is enough to knock men unconscious. Shrapnel tears through the air. 2 American machine gun positions are destroyed. 6 men dead, 4 wounded. At 5:24 in the afternoon, the German infantry reaches 200 meters. Cole realizes they are not going to stop. This is not a probing attack. This is not a harassing action. This is a full commitment assault intended to retake Hill 30 regardless of cost. He makes a decision that defies all tactical logic. He orders a countercharge. At 5:25 in the afternoon, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Cole stands up in full view of 200 advancing German soldiers and 3 assault guns. He blows his whistle. He points his rifle forward and screams one word, "Charge!" and he runs directly at the Germans. For 1 full second, no one follows him. He is alone, running across open ground toward an enemy force that outnumbers his own by 2 to 1. Then Major John Stopka, the battalion executive officer, stands and charges. Then 10 men stand. Then 50. Then the entire American line rises from their foxholes and charges downhill screaming. 132 American paratroopers running at 200 German panzergrenadiers. The distance closes rapidly. 200 meters becomes 150. 150 becomes 100. Men are firing while running. Accuracy is 0, but the psychological effect is total. The German line falters. They were advancing expecting to overrun a defensive position. They were not expecting the defenders to charge them. At 70 meters distance, American soldiers begin throwing grenades. 83 grenades total are thrown in 15 seconds. The grenades land in and among the German formation. They detonate. Men go down in clusters. At 50 meters, the two forces collide. What happens next is not combat in any modern sense. It is a melee. Men use bayonets, rifle butts, entrenching tools, knives, fists. The fighting is desperate and close. You cannot tell who is winning. You cannot see more than 5 feet through the smoke and dust. The German assault guns cannot fire. Their own infantry is mixed with the Americans. They cannot distinguish targets. The half-tracks try to maneuver, but the terrain is too broken. Hedgerows block their movement. For 4 minutes, the outcome is unclear. Then the German line breaks. They withdraw, not a rout, a fighting withdrawal. They move back in order, firing as they go, but they are moving back. The Americans do not pursue. They are out of breath, out of ammunition, out of strength. At 5:32 in the afternoon, the German counterattack is over. The Americans hold Hill 30. Cole walks the battlefield after the firing stops. He counts. American dead, 22. American wounded, 57. American effective strength remaining, 53 men able to fight. German dead, 74 counted on the field. German wounded, unknown, but blood trails lead south indicating many were carried away. German prisoners, 11, too badly wounded to withdraw with their unit. Cole's battalion started the day with 265 men. He now has 53. He radios regiment. He reports Hill 30 is secure, but his unit is combat ineffective. He cannot hold against another determined attack. Regiment orders him to hold until dark. Reinforcements will arrive after nightfall. At 7:43 in the evening, elements of the 2nd Armored Division reach Hill 30. Sherman tanks, tank destroyers, fresh infantry. The 101st Airborne is pulled off the line. The Battle of Carentan is considered an American victory. The town and its surrounding high ground remain in Allied hands. The link between Utah and Omaha beaches is secured. Logistics flow freely. Eisenhower's timeline holds, but the cost is severe. The 101st Airborne suffers over 1,000 casualties taking and holding Carentan. Some battalions are reduced to 30% strength. The 3rd Battalion, 502nd Parachute Infantry Regiment, is pulled out of combat for reconstitution. They will not fight again for 2 weeks. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Cole is recommended for the Medal of Honor for his actions on June 13th. The recommendation is approved. He will receive the medal in a ceremony in September 1944. He will not live to see it. On September 18, 1944, during Operation Market Garden in Holland, Robert Cole is killed instantly by a German sniper while observing enemy positions near the town of Best. He is 29 years old. His Medal of Honor citation reads in part, Lieutenant Colonel Cole led his battalion in a charge across open ground in the face of overwhelming enemy fire. His personal courage and leadership under fire inspired his men to victory against a numerically superior enemy force. His actions reflect the highest traditions of military service. The citation does not mention that he was outnumbered, outgunned, low on ammunition, exhausted, and facing tanks with no anti-tank weapons. It does not mention that the tactical situation was hopeless and the logical decision was to withdraw. It does not mention that he charged anyway, because sometimes in war the math does not matter. Carentan teaches several lessons that appear in every U.S. Army infantry manual published after 1944. First, speed and aggression can overcome superior firepower if applied at the correct moment. Second, defensive positions can be broken by direct assault if the defenders are not expecting it. Third, leadership is the single most important factor in infantry combat. Men will follow officers who lead from the front, even into situations that appear suicidal. Fourth, German doctrine in Normandy prioritized counterattacks. Every captured position would be counterattacked within hours. American units learned to prepare defenses immediately after taking an objective. Fifth, the bocage terrain of Normandy negated Allied advantages in artillery, armor, and air power. Infantry had to fight on nearly equal terms with German infantry. This slowed the Allied advance significantly and increased casualties far beyond pre-invasion estimates. The fighting in and around Carentan lasted from June 10 to June 14, 1944, 4 days. One small French town, the strategic importance was enormous. The tactical execution was brutal. The numbers are simple. The 101st Airborne Division suffered 1,043 casualties at Carentan. The Germans suffered an estimated 850 killed, wounded, or captured. Both sides counted the battle as strategically successful. The Americans held the town. The Germans delayed the Allied advance by 4 days and inflicted heavy casualties. Both sides were correct. That is the nature of Normandy.